Hello Cancer, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading, on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me, or on my upcoming workshop is in the description box below, and there will be more on that upcoming workshop at the end of this video. But let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through Oracle cards first, and we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. But let's first see, Cancer, what you've got going on here in this recent past energy. What has Cancer been dealing with? Step out of your comfort zone. The end of a tough cycle approaches. I feel like there's one more I need. Don't let your past hold you back, with a new start is coming. Okay. I see why that was important. Then you have a time for healing on the bottom. I feel like you've obviously been dealing with some sort of a tough cycle, obviously. And I feel like Spirit is pushing you to close this out so you can have a very abundant new beginning in your life here. However, with don't let your past hold you back, I feel like there are some things that are blocking you. I don't necessarily know what that is yet. I feel like we'll get more as we dive into tarot, but I feel like whether that's limiting beliefs or certain attachments to people or outcomes or, whatever the case might be, I feel like, that's what our comfort zone is. Our comfort zone is what's familiar, and a lot of times that can be very much attributed to what we're used to. When we grow up in an environment where we lack love and success, or we lack financial stability or peace, or whatever the case is, whether or not we realize it, that lack becomes our comfort zone. And we might desire more, we might want more, but our nervous system actually very much thrives in what is familiar. It doesn't feel like it, but it prefers what is familiar instead of what is possible. And I think that this is about breaking out of familiar cycles and stepping into the possibility here. But that's just what you've been dealing with. So let's see what we've got here for you, Cancer, in your current energy. And I feel like closing out the cycle is going to require you to move out of your comfort zone in some way. And maybe you've already been doing that. But let's see. Surrender to the divine. The full moon energy. And then don't let your past hold you back, and don't let pride get in your way. Okay. Pride and ego to me, I feel like really go hand in hand. And I kind of, I talk about the ego a lot on this channel just to kind of understand its role in your life and how it shows up in certain situations, because our ego, it shouldn't be demonized. It's, I think it very much can be in the spiritual community, but it shouldn't be demonized. Its primary goal is to keep you alive, and it's very important to have in this human experience. I mean, it's what keeps you from stepping in front of a bus, right? But the issue start to arise when your ego is making decisions for you. When it says, I need things to be this way. I need this outcome to look exactly like this. I need this to be like this. And if it's not like this, then it's never going to be the way that I want. I'm going to be unhappy. I'm never going to have the success that I desire. I'm never going to have the relationship that I want, whatever the case might be. So attachment really plays a role the ego really plays a role in attachment, because it says, it's my way or the highway, basically. And it says that to keep us safe because our ego likes control and predictability, right? So it says if things work out like I can see them working out, then that's how we get happy. That's how we get fulfilled. That's how we get abundant. That's how we get the love that we deserve and desire. But a lot of times that puts us in this position of having these blinders on, where it's basically like we're so focused on trying to make something work and forcing ourselves down a certain path into a certain outcome and in a certain way. And in reality, what we're actually looking for, the love, the abundance, the peace, the freedom, whatever it is, actually exists outside of what your ego might feel that you need. And I think that a lot of times we don't realize this is happening, at least for me in my past. I think that there have been so many times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like it has to be like this. It has to be this person. It has to be this outcome. And then you get out of it and you actually start to receive the things that are meant for you. And you look back and you're like, I'm so glad that didn't work out. Like, I'm so glad the universe led me away from that outcome and towards something better. And I think that that's what this process is about, is really understanding that if things aren't working out the way that you want them to, it's not to take you away from what's possible, but to move you toward that path. But that's why you have surrendered to the divine, is being willing to let go of your ideas of how you think things need to work and when you think things need to work. And that's the hard part, right? About manifestation and receiving the things that you want. And getting to the life that you desire is kind of letting go of what your ego thinks it needs. So what does Cancer need to know moving forward? Some of the universe's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. I often say the universe only has 3 answers for you. It is yes, not right now, or there is something better. So you are good enough. A win-win outcome is forecast. Work through your fears. Nothing is yet set in stone. So I feel like you have more ahead of you than you might think. Like with this, a win-win outcome is forecast. This to me is like things are going to work out for you. But I feel like there is a need to face a lot of the fear that's been holding you back in some way. I don't necessarily know if this is in regard to like walking away from something or starting something or like redirection, kind of, that's something that's been a collective theme. And the readings that I've done for April is it feels like old cycles are closing out. People are walking away from what isn't, serving them, from relationships and paths that have kind of reached certain dead ends and moving toward something better, like kind of like taking that next step, leveling up, if you will. And so I feel like that's kind of what's coming through in this reading for you. But I feel like what you're needing to understand is that the things are going to work out for you when it comes to you getting what you deserve and desire, but it might not show up in the way that you think. And I think that that's the biggest thing holding you back, is there's this attachment to feeling like things have to work out a certain way or look a certain way. And I think that might actually be keeping you from the action that you're needing to take to get to where you're trying to go. And that's kind of the fear and then the ego and all the things that we just talked about. So I feel like there's a lot to unpack in this reading, but I feel like it's good. I feel like you are absolutely, heading toward the things that you deserve and desire, but I do think things are going to work out a little bit different than you think that they will. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like at the end of the day, you're going to get what you deserve. You're going to get what you desire, whether it shows up in the form of what you think it needs to or not. It's like, does that really matter? But let's see what else we've got going for you here. So let's look at the overall theme of this reading for you, Cancer. It's like this outcome that you desire is on the other side of breaking out of some sort of cycle. Like the cycle is the biggest thing holding you back. Overall theme of this reading for Cancer. The Death card popped out there. Healer, knowledge with boundaries. Ooh. Oh, and there's the Death on the bottom here. Okay. So I feel like you're needing to be open to other perspectives. Sometimes we get in our own way when we think that we know exactly how things need to work out. And I know I've said this a lot, but because our ego will close us off to other options. Our ego will say, there is no other solution, there's no other outcome that I'm open to receiving. It has to be this, it has to be this, it has to be this. And I feel like right now there's a lot of ego showing up in this reading. And I don't necessarily think that it's something that is intentional, nor is it something that you need to be ashamed of, but something to bring awareness to, because I think our ego is very, it can show up a lot as our intuition, and we can start to think, oh, our intuition is guiding us somewhere, but it's your fear. So I feel like right now you're being very led by fear, and it feels like being open to other perspectives and other ways of things working out might help you close out some past cycles here. Because ego is keeping you, like I just see this repetitive pattern showing up, but it's like your ego is saying like, this time it's going to be different, or like this time things will work out, or this time. And your soul is like, no, we've got to break out of this, step into something new. But I feel like there's a part of you that's very closed off to that, even though this is where the abundance lives, the solutions live, the what you're looking for is. So I don't know. It kind of feels like Spirit's got some like, I don't know if it's like, I don't want to say call it tough love, but like a need to see, like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people are going to be open to this reading, which I'm like sitting here like, why? Because I think that there are some truths that Spirit is asking you to see that like your ego, like something that you don't even want me to see, or like your ego doesn't want you to see. Now, if you are open to the truth, or like to the kind of deeper perspectives, different perspectives, things like that, that's the first step. So, I don't know. I think that some of the times the readings that I do, like they come across, or my intention is for them to help support the collective, right? In alignment with their higher self. But sometimes, I think a lot of people get very upset by that, because sometimes it comes across as me telling them something they don't want to hear. It's never my intention. I gotta read the messages how they come through. I'd be doing myself and you guys a disservice if I didn't. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. Let's look at this past energy. Let's see what this cycle even is. I don't even know what this cycle is, but I know that it's very familiar for you. This also feels very, there's a Ten of Wands. It feels very, specific in a way. Oh, the Four of Swords in reverse. So your soul is tired of some sort of cycle here. I feel like you've been drained by something. But yet, I feel like there's still, oh my goodness, the Nine of Swords. There's still this energy of trying to make it work, trying to make something happen. But it's like your soul is asking you to surrender, to let go here. Yeah, a cycle that keeps repeating. What else do we need to know there? There you are. Oh, goodness. Okay. So there's a lot of triggering happening in this energy that you've been in. And I know this is past energy, but I feel like this feels very similar to this energy. Like you've been dealing with this cycle for a really long time. And I feel like this energy is very, it's very hard to deal with, because I feel like a lot of potential that you saw in some sort of path, some sort of outcome. And so you are doing everything in your power, putting everything you can into trying to make something happen, trying to make something work. And I almost feel like there's a lot of anxiety associated with the possibility of something not working. And that anxiety is where the attachment comes from. Now, that's not something you should, shame, blame yourself for at all, because our attachments are created to avoid some sort of fear. We say, I need this relationship to work, or I need this person to love me, or I need this, this career path to work out, because if it doesn't, then I'm never going to have what I want. It's like this belief that it has to be this way or it's nothing at all. And that I feel like has you really trapped in like spinning your wheels and draining yourself, pouring yourself into something that just is not amounting to what you ultimately deserve. Knight of Swords in reverse is definitely an energy of chasing. Now, I feel like there's also a lot of triggers popping up here. So a lot of big emotional responses that you're having to these situations in your life. And that's for a reason, because I feel like Spirit is trying to get you to change course in some sort of way. But it feels like there's so much fear and anxiety about doing that, which is so natural and so human, and there is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we even have to consciously repeat patterns and repeat cycles, recognize that we're even doing it before we finally get the courage to break out of them, or we finally, gain the confidence to move. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us, or that we're weak, or that we're, behind, or anything like that. Like, we break out of cycles when it is right for us and our path and our journey. And so this isn't me saying, like, if you don't break out of this cycle, like, you're screwed. Okay, you will always have the opportunity to receive the things that you deserve and desire. I feel like you're trying to get there. It just feels like there's a lot of control. It's like you're trying to force your way down this path, but the outcome is over here. So I don't know, but the desire underneath the outcome that you're wanting, that can still happen. That's still possible for you. Success, abundance, love, whatever it is. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's not taking shape down this path for a reason. So let's dive deeper into this. Current energy for Cancer: don't let your past hold you back. Surrender to the divine. So there's a need to let go. Because you're tired. You're so tired, Cancer. And I get why. I mean, you absolutely drained yourself here. Current energy for Cancer. Okay, so what does Cancer need to know about this energy? Yeah. Okay. So then there you are again. Okay, so there's this energy of almost putting your life on hold for waiting for some sort of an outcome. And that is actually keeping you from the outcome. Because there's a lot of like stagnant energy in this current energy that you're in. Waiting for an outcome, putting your life on hold specifically, like especially with the Hermit. But yet there's still chasing energy. So what's really confusing about this energy is, if for you, I mean, like from the perspective of somebody going through this, would be I feel like you felt like very, I don't know if like led or guided or meant for something. Like you felt like there was this path, and this path was like, you were like, this is it, 100%, this is the path I'm supposed to take. And it didn't come to fruition the way that you expected. So you're still though in this energy where you're saying, well, this is the path for me and it's not happening. That must mean that there's no way of getting there. And so you're waiting or putting your life on hold until you try to find the outcome in this path. And like, I think that I don't blame you for that. I mean, I think a lot of times things can feel like they're really meant for us, and they are, but not necessarily for the ultimate outcome that we desire, but as a stepping stone toward that desire, or to help us heal, grow, and evolve so we can align further with what it is that we truly desire. So I'm not saying you were wrong. Like, I don't want you to think that you were wrong for pursuing something or going down some path. I feel like you've reached some sort of a dead end. And now it's time to redirect. And it doesn't mean that you're not getting to where you want to go, because I feel like it's actually the opposite. I feel like it's like you've learned all you can in this situation. You've grown, like, I don't know if it's outgrown something. I don't know if it's what it is, but it's like it's time for you, because wherever you've been forcing, or what you've been waiting for, doesn't have the ability to align with the fulfillment that you deserve, which means that there's something better. And that's what I feel like Spirit is trying to tell you. It's like you don't understand. There's something better here for you. There's something more aligned. There's something that is more fulfilling. There's something that is like I don't know, like more meant for you. So there's a need to hit play on your life, almost like accepting that if things don't work out the way that you expected, it's not to keep you from what you desire, but to move you toward it. But it feels like because there's such a draw to some sort of outcome, that it's like you're waiting until that outcome arises before you feel, if it's like you can like live your life or be happy, or it's like you feel like you won't be happy until this happens. Which is ultimately actually keeping your happiness. That's why it's evading you. Because you've attached your happiness, your abilities to experience all that you want to some outcome. But if that outcome isn't meant for you, that outcome never happens, then you feel you'll never be happy. It's this vicious cycle. Okay, I feel like I've said that a lot, but I'm just trying to, remember, I'm reading these cards at the same time, right at the same time I'm recording this video, so it's kind of like putting the pieces of a puzzle together. So Spirit is asking you to let go of how you think things need to look, to let go of what you think needs to happen, to let go of outcomes you might be attached to, or situations that aren't working, so that you can open up to better here. What does Cancer need to know moving forward? Which your ego despises. And that's not, our ego hates change. It hates the unknown. It hates what isn't predictable. It hates it. But I know from experience that the more that we allow ourselves to surrender fully to the deepest level of truth that we can access at any moment, the more that we allow ourselves to move through the illusions that the ego creates, because your ego is going to keep the illusion up that this is going to work if you just try hard enough, if you keep draining yourself, if you keep, trying to force it, like it'll happen. Your ego is going to keep that illusion up for as long as it can. And the only way that you break out of that is to surrender to the deeper truth that if something isn't working, if you keep heading a dead end time and time again, that it's redirecting you. You're needing to redirect. It's not, rejection is not divine protection. Like, that's what this feels like. It feels like you're being divinely protected from an outcome that isn't capable of being what it is you ultimately deserve. But it feels like you're seeing that divine protection as rejection of desires being fulfilled. But that's not the case. So what is Cancer needing to know moving forward? Yeah, because you have worked through your fears. So there's a lot of fear surrounding something not working. But look what's on the other side of that. So you have the Tower with the Sun here. And then there you are. You've shown up in every single reading here. Or every single, like, in your past, present, and future. And I think that that's because this is about you. Oh my gosh, the Ten of Pentacles, the Lovers, the Sun. But you have to let, in order for things to fall into place. And I've experienced this in so many different ways in my life. And and relationships and my career, sometimes you have to let certain things fall apart, or you have to accept that certain things aren't working to allow better things to fall back into place, to open up your energy. We can only hold so much energy. And if we're holding on to, even if we're at a distance to certain people or certain situations, even if we're holding on to those outcomes and we're saying, this has to be the way, this has to be the way, we might be actually holding ourselves back. And I think that that's what Spirit is trying to tell you. If you can let go and create a certain level of acceptance that like, this isn't the path for me, or this isn't working. Sometimes it just starts with the awareness of like, okay, yeah, this isn't working. That allows us to be open to other paths, to other opportunities, to other ways of moving through our experience, which ultimately might actually lead us to better. So that's absolutely what this is. This is divine protection. Divine protection toward, I mean, look at this. This is beautiful energy. 10 of Pentacles, Lover, Sun. But it requires you to experience the Tower. But I think that there's this fear that if you let go, and I know in my spiritual journey, letting go and surrendering and allowing things to fall into place has been the hardest part. But it's also led me to my deepest level of fulfillment. It led me to my husband. It led me to a very fulfilling career. Like, it's led me to everything that I've ever wanted, which is very different than how I used to think things needed to look. And, you know, I used to hear spiritual teachers out there talk about that, right? You know, letting go and surrendering. And I feel like at the time I didn't really know what that meant. But I do now. And I've really learned that it's about trust. It's about believing that the universe is supporting our highest good in every single moment. And if the universe is protecting us from a certain path, from a certain outcome, it's for the best. Because it's basically the universe saying, you don't want to go that way, or you don't want to keep going this way, because you're going to end up in the same place. This isn't capable of providing you with what you deserve and desire. So try this, you know, try going this way, try moving in this direction, and then look at all the beautiful energy that surrounds that. But that acceptance and that ability to let go, that willingness to let go and to allow, that's what's necessary. And that's the hard part, because that's where the trust, you have to let go and trust that the universe is going to catch you. But there's so much beauty in this future energy. It's different than you think. It's different. It's going to look different than you expected. And that's something that your ego is having a hard time wrapping its understanding around, because it's like, but I don't have control over that. I don't know what that looks like. Therefore, it doesn't seem possible because I don't have any control there. And that's how the ego works. It keeps you trapped in cycles and experiences that it has control over. So I don't know. This is for somebody, I don't know who, feels specific, but also I feel like I'm speaking to, like, there are some people who I feel like are going to open, you know, like accept this message with open arms. And I feel like there are some people that are very much going to resist it, and that's natural and that's normal. You know, I think that we're ultimately open to making the changes that are meant for us when we're meant to. So I don't know, but I do feel like you have a lot of good to look forward to. So I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to dive deeper into this, looking at what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. But first, like I mentioned, I do want to go over this workshop that I'm holding in a little less than 2 weeks. It's on April 25th at 6 p.m. Central Time. You do not have to attend live in order to be a part of the workshop. If you don't attend live, and you still purchase a ticket, you will receive a recording the next day. But this workshop is all about the secret to manifesting. And really breaking down, you know, as someone, I at one point in my life was very miserable and, you know, lacked love, lacked healthy friendships, lacked abundance, you know, lacked freedom. And I've very much been able to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, from, like I said, my husband, to a fulfilling career, to you know, just in general, being surrounded by so much love and joy and fulfillment in my life. And I'm very grateful for that. But I also feel that I learned a lot in that process. And, you know, I found the concept of manifestation when I first started my journey. And there were a lot of things that I didn't really understand about the concept until I got to where I was trying to go. So this workshop is about breaking down what manifestation really is, really looking at the psychology behind it. And that secret to manifesting is all about embodiment. So really, truly embodying the person that you need to be to create the life that you desire. And this workshop is really breaking down how to do that. I am so excited for this one. I have poured so much into this workshop. And this one's really close to my heart. I'm keeping it pretty small on purpose. So I feel like tickets are only going to be available for a little while longer. If you are interested, I recommend purchasing one sooner rather than later. You do probably still have like 4 or 5 days. So Anyway, other than that, thank you guys so much, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Cancer.